Okay, I'm going to walk you through 2 prompts, and I'm just going to give you a look at my thought process. I know that you're not going to have a lot of time on the AP exam, but this is one area where you don't want to shortchange yourself. It's important to really understand what the content of the prompt is. Let's start with the first one. In his 1998 book, Life the Movie, How Entertainment Conquered Reality, Neil Gabler wrote the following: "One does not necessarily have to cluck in disapproval to admit that entertainment is all the things its detractors say it is. Fun, effortless, sensational, mindless, formulaic, predictable, and subversive. In fact, one might argue that those are the very reasons so many people love it. At the same time, it is not hard to see why cultural aristocrats in the 19th century and intellectuals in the 20th hated entertainment, and why they predicted, as one typical 19th century critic railed, that its eventual effect would be to overturn all morality, to poison the springs of domestic happiness, to dissolve the ties of our social order, and to involve our country in ruin. Write a thoughtful and carefully constructed essay in which you use specific evidence to defend, challenge, or qualify the assertion that entertainment has the capacity to ruin society." They'll sum it up for you, but that's a pretty short summary. I would go back and look at that body paragraph where they have the primary quote and ask myself, why are they stating that entertainment would ruin society? Because when you respond, you can't really create a good argument where you agree, disagree, or qualify unless you understand the scope of their argument. They have a laundry list at the beginning: fun, effortless, sensational, mindless, formulaic, predictable, subversive. One possibility would be to really hone in on 1 or 2 of those and either strongly agree or strongly disagree. The other part of this that I think is important is they really make a distinction between the intellectuals and the critics and the aristocrats versus the common people. So personally for me, I would disagree with this. I would say that I don't think in any way, shape, or form entertainment is destroying society, but rather we might need to look at what types of entertainment are available, and are all pieces of entertainment equal? So those are the moments that I would pull, and I would kind of rephrase the very end of that prompt where they say, does entertainment have the capacity to ruin society? I would instead probably qualify this and say, no, I don't believe entertainment has the capacity to ruin society, except for, and I would add certain elements that I think might speak to what the critics were talking about. But again, you don't want to rely just on that little blurb they give you at the end. The entertainment has a capacity to ruin society. You need to kind of dig in. Let's look at the second one. Read the following excerpt from The Decline of Radicalism by Daniel J. Boorstin, and consider the implications of the distinction Boorstin makes between dissent and disagreement. Then, using appropriate evidence, write a carefully reasoned essay in which you defend, challenge, or qualify Boorstin's distinction. Dissent is the great problem of America today. It overshadows all others. It is a symptom, an expression, a consequence, and a cause of all others. I say dissent and not disagreement. And it is the distinction between dissent and disagreement which I really want to make. Disagreement produces debate, but dissent produces dissension. Dissent, which comes from the Latin dis and sentire, means originally to feel apart from others. People who disagree have an argument, but people who dissent have a quarrel. People may disagree and both may count themselves in the majority, but a person who dissents is by definition in a minority. A liberal society thrives on disagreement, but is killed by dissension. Disagreement is the lifeblood of democracy. Dissension is its cancer. I would absolutely highlight that last line and somehow put it in my essay. It's such a powerful one, whether you agree or disagree. It's a real showstopper. Again, if you look at the very beginning, they ask you to consider the implications of the distinction between dissent and disagreement, but there's more to it. They're really talking about how they affect democracy and freedom. They also mention later on, dissent is by definition in a minority. I think that's an interesting piece that I would probably highlight and pull as well. And again, if I were rewriting this prompt, I would really say to myself, okay, do I first think there's a distinction between dissent and disagreement? Are they radically that different? And if so, is dissent truly the negative force and disagreement the positive force? So all I'm asking you to do in the next assessment is look at those prompts and rewrite them in a way that you're really trying to hone in on the key elements. They will always give you in the argument prompt a little information. They'll rephrase it for you, but it's a very superficial rephrasing. I'd like to see you dig in and in 1 or 2 sentences, pull out the important elements. Also, as practice, ask yourself, do you agree, disagree, or qualify each of these statements? You won't have to certainly write an essay with each one, but it's good sort of rapid-fire practice to get used to doing that. Okay, head to the assessment.